Hello, Suzanne
Hey.
Ross. How you doing?
Really good. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry about the little delay. Had to get my groceries in the refrigerator, and I decided to take a quick shower because I was sweating like a guinea pig in a Peruvian restaurant. I didn't want to feel uncomfortable, so I needed to relax for just a moment there. But I am ready to go. We can go till 8:10 if that's okay with you. Want to get a full 2 hours in here, so listened to you at a Tolex conference. That was pretty enlightening. I love what you're doing and all, but I guess for those that haven't heard about you, all right, for starters, let's have you give out who you are, where you come from, what's your life story regarding the stuff you experience that causes you to do what you do. I'd like to ask, please try to keep this as educational as you can because I want to give you give you a life story and all to do that, but um, act like you're a primary source, if you will, to because I want to expose the nature of reality on my show and all, and don't want to bore the listeners to death. I want to give them the chance to have the opportunity to hear what you do and also say, okay, this is a very credible source. I think she knows what she's talking about. Definitely want to listen to her, and if she succeeds in doing the things that you said that you intend to do at the conference, well, now's your chance to give you the listeners who will listen to this the opportunity to get to know you. Also, might as well give out your contact info to your website and everything. Usually people do that at the end of their shows, but I do that at the beginning of the shows. So, Suzanne Ross, your life story, who you are, what you're doing, and please keep it educational. You got the floor.
Well, hello, and it's such a pleasure to be here today with Andrew Fisher. I am a light worker and a consciousness evolver, and I have been called for the purpose of impacting the global consciousness to raise the frequency so that we can all experience a higher love light frequency for the coming ascension. And I truly believe that it's happening now. And I am involved in many projects to progress others on their spiritual journey and also to help them progress on their evolutionary path. So I met Andrew Fisher at a recent conference that was hosted by Tolek of the Andromeda Council. And again, this was a conference in Sedona where those of us who have dedicated our lives to the awakening and ascension of humanity gathered to share our ideas, our projects, the conscious media, books, shows, what have you that we're all working on. Andrew has asked me to talk a little bit about how I got to where I'm at, and I'd be delighted to do that in the most entertaining, informative, and educational way that I can. About 20 years ago, I was working in the corporate world back east, and I found myself waking up every day hoping that there was more meaning and purpose to life than waking up and fighting brutal traffic and dealing with corporate politics and again fighting traffic and coming home to do it all over again. And I just felt like I was spinning my wheels. And this was showing up in many physical symptoms as well as anxiety and frustration and just overall distress. One day I came out to the kitchen and I said, well, there's got to be more meaning and purpose to life than this, or I'm out of here. And about that time, the phone rang, and it was my parents calling from the desert of Southern California, inviting me to come out and enjoy some fun in the sun. And I knew that's exactly what I needed. While I was there, I started to experience the love and the joy and the laughter of being with my family. When I got to the desert, I had this sense that I'd come home. It was a beautiful place, and the mountains were purple, and the sunsets were orange, and it was just a glorious place. But then one morning I woke up in a panic, knowing that this was all going to end and I was going to have to return to my life in purgatory. So that morning I felt compelled to run toward the mountains behind their house. And as I ran towards the mountains, they looked like shadows in the distance, and you could see beautiful orange and red rays of light streaming up from behind the mountains, and I really felt as if they were calling me. So I took off running. I ran straight to the top of these mountains, and I threw my arms up, looked up to the sky, and said, I am miserable in the extreme and see no way out. And in that moment, I felt a total sense of calm wash over me. It was as if the air around me was hugging me in a warm embrace. Then I heard a voice resonate within me and all around me, and it simply said, "Can't you see you've come home? You will stay here and heal yourself and many others, and you are loved more than you can possibly imagine." And in that moment, all of the anxiety and stress that I'd been experiencing just melted away, and it was replaced by enthusiasm and excitement over my new life in the desert as a healer. And as I ran down the mountain, I knew that that was my true calling, and there wasn't a shred of doubt in my mind as to what I needed to do. And in a matter of 2 weeks, I completely transformed my life from being a stressed out corporate manager back east to a healer in the desert of Southern California. For the next few weeks, I just followed the energy and fell into this place of divine synchronicity where all the people, places, and things that I needed to make my dream come true fell into place magically. And for the next 12 years, I stayed there and healed myself and many others. And to this day, I'm still in the field of mind, body, spirit wellness. I have now moved to Sedona, Arizona, and have written a couple of books about liberating your mind from limiting beliefs and igniting the spirit on an ascension journey. I'm involved in conscious media. I'm creating 3 different shows, one television series that I'm creating for the Discovery Channel called Supernatural Adventures Around the Globe and Into the Cosmos, where we'll be going to 13 sacred sites around the planet that are aligned with 13 constellations in the cosmos. And as we do this, we'll be activating each of these cities of light around the world so that we can activate humanity one sacred site at a time. And in doing so, we hope to activate the consciousness matrix so that we can all ascend into a higher dimensional experience of the reality. Another television series that I'm currently producing is a multimedia show. It's called Lighten Up TV, and it's also a radio show on Blog Talk called Lighten Up, and I interview global thought leaders from around the world who come on with really inspirational and empowering messages for humanity. So I'm really enjoying that project as well. Another thing that we're doing here is we're developing a large acreage, a community of light for the people of light. And on this acreage, we're going to have 4 different structures, and each one of them is going to be dedicated to another aspect of awakening and ascension. There'll be healing, instruction, spiritual practices, group practices such as daily meditation, chanting, praying, singing, and dancing. So we really look forward to that project growing and flourishing as well. Along the way, I've discovered many ways to tune into higher consciousness, my own higher self, as well as many of my guides in multidimensional realms. And these guides come through with powerful instructions about what I'm meant to do on my mission here on Earth. I've been tuned into multidimensional aspects of myself in different realms, in different star systems, revealing the different star seeds that my DNA has been encoded with. As I tune into these multidimensional aspects of myself, I'm able to reunite them so that I can become the fullest expression of my whole self and serve in the highest way, which is truly to inspire and enlighten and awaken humanity. This comes from a place of pure love, pure unconditional love for all of my brothers and sisters here on planet Earth and throughout the galaxy and throughout the universe. So really am sincere about wanting to raise the love light frequency for all.
And I am interested in doing the same, of course, with my shows. So, oh, I hear myself echoing in the background. Hope that'll go away, but I don't hear it anymore. That's good. Yes, I'll give you the opportunity now, I guess, to make a little bit of a pitch of sorts out of the stuff that you are doing. You gave me 3. There's 3 websites in your bio here. Your official one, and also the Lighten Up TV one, and also the awakeningscenters.org one. Why don't you make a little sales pitch of sorts right now about the Awakening Centers thing? I'm on the website right now. It seems to be a thing for women, but if there's anything that men can do, by all means, then fill us in on that. Well, first of all, first and foremost, I'm looking at the top of the page. I see a triangle, an equilateral isosceles triangle with an eye in it. Hopefully, people won't see that and think you're a member of the Illuminati. But of course, there's no symbol is a bad symbol. It's just the way you decide to use it. And don't assume that just because a symbol has a big eye in it that means you're Illuminati. If that was the case, everybody would think my mother, who's an ophthalmologist, was a member of the Illuminati with the way she puts eyes all over her stuff. So I have no doubt you're definitely not Illuminati, so because of the things you're doing. It's so counterintuitive to think you would be. But anyhow, this 501c3 nonprofit organization, the Awakening Centers, you are the president and CEO of that. And there's three different things here. There's a free thing that people can do. There's also the monthly whether the monthly transformer and also the ascender. So why don't you make a little bit of a sales pitch out of this and tell us what this is all about? Is it strictly for women and everything else?
Yes, we're working on changing that languaging, and thank you for noticing that. I've reached out to my webmaster to make that change. Originally, when we started building this community of light here in Sedona, we had a vision of creating a center for women only that was around healing, recovery, and elder care. Since that time, 2 years ago, the vision has become much more aligned with its true purpose. And that is, of course, for our brothers and sisters, as a whole, to come together in this community. And it will be designed more for the healing and awakening and enlightenment of humanity. So our vision has morphed since that website was designed, and I'm aware I need to change that languaging on there. So the website, though, is fantastic, and people can come and they can join on 3 different levels at that site. What they get when they join at one of these monthly levels are many free services and products and or deep discounts on services and products from many spiritually inspired practitioners as well as wellness experts. So when you tune into the site and when you join, you're automatically eligible for these free services and products as well as the deep discounts. So we're excited to be able to offer that. This is also the site where we list the events that are happening. And so at www.theawakeningscenters.org, under fundraising activities, you'll see our upcoming events, and we're very excited about those. On November 22nd, we're having an event called the Golden Gate. So according to many astrologers and ancient Egyptian mystery schools, 1122 is the opening of the Golden Gate. And so we have Egyptologist Matthews Imhotep, who has written the Unveiled Gnosis series, the Seventh Seal series. He'll be hosting that event, and he'll be giving us some amazing knowledge around opening that Golden Gate to the Ascension Portal. So that will be a really exciting event from 5 until 8 at the Sedona Community Center on November 22nd. And then we have a spectacular event December 9th and 10th called the Cosmic Wave. And this is all about exploring the cosmic wave of consciousness streaming in from our galactic brothers and sisters in support of the awakening and ascension of humanity. I'll be hosting that with Matthews Imhotep. And we have special guest Brad Olson, who is a world-renowned author of the Esoteric series. He's also written many travel books about sacred sites around the planet, and he is a prolific speaker. We also have Jay Brave and Shyla Ray. Jay Brave is a musician. He was with the Luminous group, and he just came out with a beautiful song called Sacred that was shot against the Sedona background. And so we're very excited to have him as our musical special guest. We also have incredible speakers like Tom Dongo, who has one of the world's largest collection of UFO and alien images. And then we have Lightstar, who speaks many different star languages. Stanswith Bear plays an amazing Native American flute. Adana, who's a star ancestry guide. Tolek of the Andromeda Council. Nancy Safford of the Magdalene Mysteries. Deborah Thunderbeat, she is an amazing drummer. Shakina Rose sings the language of light. Joseph P. Anthony is an astrologer to the stars. And Megan Martinez is our Golden Age Oracle on our Lighten Up multimedia show. So it's going to be a spectacular 2-day event at the Sedona Community Center, December 9th and 10th. These are both full-day events. And on that website, you can just click on fundraising activities and you can reserve your seat right away. So we're very excited about those upcoming events.
Cool. Can't go to the thing on the 22nd because that day I'm going to be taking a train down to Charleston, South Carolina, where my brother and my 10-month-old nephew live. We're going to be celebrating Thanksgiving down there, and I'm going to have to take the train down there, so I won't be able to join that. But maybe I'll consider coming to the thing on the 9th and 10th. I thought after the going to Chief Golden Light Eagles event in Orange County, California on 11/11. I was going to be taking a hibernation break from during the winter from all my conferences and events. But hey, now that I know about your event here, that may change. There's also something I see on the 12th. Well, what is that on your bio? Something about a you know what that is? That's that Galactic Wave Red Rock Initiation Journey. What's that?
Oh, thank you for asking about that. And where are you seeing that, my dear? On the bio? On that site? Okay, I'll check that out. Yeah, on the 12th, we're going to be going out on the Red Rocks, and we are going to be experiencing some of the portal sites here in Sedona. One of our guides, Shakina Rose, has been here for 7 years. She's a starseed, and she knows some really powerful portals and vortexes here in Sedona, and so we'll be going there and having some initiations and activations. Of course, 12/12 is a powerful date astrologically.
Oh yeah, right. And nothing on 12/11, so there'd be a break in between. All right, I'll keep that in mind if I decide to come to this event. Sounds very interesting. Okay. With that being said, another site you got here. Oh yes, lightenuptv.net, talking about some wake up workshop episodes. Why don't you enlighten us a little bit on what this TV program is all about and what you do in the workshops and what kind of things people can learn about if they participate in this?
Thanks so much for asking, Andrew. Yes, so on the lightenuptv.net site, you will find there's like 40 interviews with such amazing authors and speakers and global thought leaders. Over the last couple of years, I've interviewed so many spiritually inspired leaders who have really dedicated their lives to inspiring and empowering humanity. And I'm so delighted to, be able to offer that. It's just accessible for free. You just go on the site, click on Watch Now, and you can be taken to any of these remarkable interviews. And we just keep doing them every other week. I have an interview coming up with Christine Day, Pleiadian ambassador, and then Barbara Handclouse coming out in December to introduce her new book. So we just continue to get more and more of these really inspired people, to come to my house. I have a green room in my home and a television studio. We converted the whole lower level to a TV studio. So also we have the Lighten Up show on Blog Talk Radio every first and third Wednesday from 7 to 8:30 as well. So yes, that's that site. And the site you're seeing my book Wake Up on is www.SuzanneRossWellness.com. And on that site, you'll see all about the books that I've written. So my first book, Wake Up, Awakening Through Reflection, is a 10-day life lessons workshop. And that book is also available on Amazon. You can also purchase it from my site. But I have on that site companion workshops as well as free audio video downloads. So there's free audio meditations and then there's free video downloads of the dynamic movement therapy that's offered in my book, Wake Up. So it's a really interactive book. While you're reading the book, you can also tune into my site and participate in really interactive practices and as well as the companion workshops. So, yes, that is the site for my books.
Awesome. I just became the 100th subscriber to your YouTube channel. I just subscribed 5 seconds ago.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you upload all the all your TV programs up there, as well as all the sneak peek, little quick trailers and all that. That's what goes up there.
Yeah. So, we are giving away a free ebook called Merge, and it's all about merging your ego mind with your spiritual self. So, we're giving away that free ebook because we are really attracting people to that YouTube site. We are hoping to attract many more subscribers to that site. This is where we have sneak peek quick clips of our upcoming television series called Supernatural Adventures around the globe and into the cosmos. And that is where we'll be going to these 13 sacred sites, starting in Sedona and ending in Egypt. And as we go to these sites, we are inviting global thought leaders from around the world to come along with us as tour guides. These would be people who have written books about these sacred sites around the world. So it'll be truly a fascinating journey. And this is going to be on major network television in 2018. So you have the opportunity by going to that YouTube channel to check out these sneak peek quick clips. And so it's really fun to watch those. And we really invite everybody to come to that YouTube channel under Suzanne Ross and subscribe and get your free ebook.
Okay, thank you. A couple things to point out. First of all, on the lightenuptv.net workshop /workshops page, the Watch Now links under those pictures that show a woman with her arms raised down in front of a yellow, orange, and red sky, those actually don't link to anything. It says oops, an error occurred if you click on them. Just thought I'd let you know that. And also, this ebook that you're talking about, where can people get it? I think I want to download it now and get a chance. When I get a chance to read it, I will read it.
Excellent. Thank you for that update on the site. And yes, when you subscribe, I am notified, and ebook is automatically delivered to your email as a PDF.
Oh, so by subscribing to your YouTube channel, I
Yes.
already will get it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You'll be getting it.
Okay, thank you. Lovely.
My pleasure.
Okay, so, thank you. So now that we've gotten your websites out of the way and given you the chance to do a sales pitch, let's get into the mind, body, spirit enlightenment stuff. Well, actually, no, I won't want to do that just yet, because you talked about how you're planning to get some programs up on, well, not really network television, but TV channels like History Channel or Discovery Channel and such. And you may remember me asking you, do you actually think the powers that be are going to make this possible? Because, I mean, I don't know if you've heard all about like how History Channel and such, they seem to be really interested in getting programs that have the opportunity to wake people up off the air, UFO hunters. I interviewed Bill Burns and also Kenneth Storch, who was a prominent member on UFO Hunters. They both, on my interviews with them, talked all about how UFO Hunters was kicked off the air, and they all but acknowledged that it was because the show was exposing things the powers that be didn't want people to know. They couldn't prove that, but they were basically saying you'd be a retarded conspiracy theorist if you did not believe that that's the reason the show was kicked off the air. And Hangar One UFO Files, John Ventry was a prominent member of that show. And when I was at a MUFON symposium a couple of years ago, I was making such a big stink about what can you guys do to make sure that your show doesn't get kicked off the air. You do realize History Channel It's ultimately run by Disney, which is a major Illuminati operation. And John Ventry was like, don't worry, Disney's okay. And this guy who was the producer or director of Hangar One said he used to work for Disney, and I didn't know anybody in work for Disney who was a bad person. And I tried to explain to him, no, you don't understand. Everybody who works for Disney is compartmentalized. The people at the top of the ladder are pedophile Satanists who want to murder and enslave humanity. You don't realize that what you gotten into, and don't realize that's what's really going on as a wizard behind the curtain, behind the scenes, controlling everything. And well, apparently they didn't listen to me, and right now I'm basically thinking, I told you so, because while the show Ancient Aliens did actually make the cut, no surprise there, the show Ancient Aliens is so far out and wild and crazy that they can air a lot of stuff, and the powers that be are like, we don't care, nobody's going to believe that, we can let that run. But things like Hangar One and UFO Files and UFO Hunters, those shows kind of like exposed government documents that were declassified and such, and things that like really were not really far out. They got really serious about the stuff they were talking about, so they didn't they got kicked off the air. In the case of Hangar One, they didn't make the cut, and I was basically saying, I told you so, why didn't you listen to me? You should have gone to made a great effort to make sure that this didn't happen. Well, and you didn't. So I mean, you were basically saying, excuse me, I focus on love and light all the time, I have no reason to think that anything like this is going to happen. Well, how do you know? I mean, there's a lot of people in this that have tried to get programs about ETs and such on the air, and Stephen Greer, in one of his more inauspicious presentations, he talked about this guy, I think it was the Fox Network, who said, "Excuse, I'm a very high on the ladder of authority for Fox Network. I have nothing to worry about. I'll definitely be able to get this alien program on the air." And then he wasn't able to do it, and people asked him, "So you said you could get on the air. Why couldn't you?" Well, not for this. I'm sorry, I was wrong, and he left it at that. So how can you be sure the same thing's not going to happen to you? I've asked you once, but I got to ask you again, and this time the audience has got to hear it. So I've babbled long enough. Please speak your piece on this.
Oh, thank you for that, Andrew. You know, our show isn't focusing on UFOs and aliens and government conspiracies, and I really don't think that the Illuminati or any of these dark forces behind the scenes are going to be that interested in our show to prevent it, my dear.
Okay, so your show is focused on what exactly? The spiritual awakening of humanity? I mean, how could you be sure that they're not going to be concerned about it if the thing that they want to do to us is keep our consciousness low, to realize that we can use things like law of attraction and things like that to, and how we're space and time are illusions and we're infinite and all that. If that's the stuff your show is going to expose, you may rattle a few bones, if you will, and people are going to come out of the woodwork to silence you. So how can you be so positive that everything will be okay? I'm sorry, I got to ask you this. It's I don't want to be saying I told you so, like I'm telling the people at MUFON and Hangar One and all that.
Us light workers have made a great deal of progress in reducing the dark forces that are trying to keep this kind of thing off the air. And every day we're making more and more progress in spreading the love and light, my dear. So I'll just pray that it is picked up so that we can inspire and enlighten humanity.
Okay, and give us a little bit of a sneak peek about these programs. What channel do you intend to get it on? Is there a time period that you can give us when we could possibly expect this? Like, what time of day is it going to be on? I mean, is it going to be, they may try to air at a time of day where nobody will be around to watch it, like during the work day and all that. I hope they don't. I mean, it'd be nice if they could put it on like in the late evening, early nighttime hours. But what's this the time period for the show? What's it going to be called? When's it going to air? What channel's going to air? And all that stuff. And the
Thank
genres.
you. Yeah, thank you for asking. We're hoping to create a whole new genre that merges science and spirituality and ultimately have our own network called the Sci-Spy Network. In the meantime, the show has been presented to 4 major networks, and so we are insisting on keeping creative control over the show. So it depends on, whose contract gives us the most creative control. So we will know more as we get closer to 2018, and our goal is to be on air by spring of 2018.
I wish you the best of luck in that. Okay, now we got that out of the way, let's talk about some of the things that people can do to expand consciousness and improve my body and soul and all that. Well, okay, when you say you're a motivational speaker, well, I want to give people a kick in the pants to wake them up. But when it comes to being a motivational speaker, what kind of things do you are at the top of your list of priority in terms of things to say to motivate people in regards to getting them to speed up the ascension process, if you will, for humanity?
Thank you for asking. So, in my book, Wake Up, it's all about taking the reader on a journey of self exploration so that as people reflect upon the most transformational experiences in their life, or those experiences they may be still holding on to some negative emotions around, that they are taken through a process where they can really let go of any negativity that they're still holding on to. They can start balancing karma that they've created in this and past lives, and then they engage in practices that allow them to merge their ego mind with their higher self, daily practices where they have the opportunity to step into the fullest potential of who they truly are. And this is done through meditation. This is done through empowerment practices, affirmations, and throughout the book, there's 10 sections on practical spirituality. So 10 really powerful practices that allow people to tune into their highest self, start living each and every day as the highest version of who they truly are. We want people to recognize that they are both human and divine, and that we are all of and from the same divine source. So we really want to empower people and recognize that each and every person has within them the pure essence of their soul, which is simply the highest frequency of love and light. And when they're able to step outside of those limiting beliefs that they are small, or that they can't, and they aren't, and they won't, we give them practices so that they come away feeling very empowered and knowing that, I am, I can, and I will. And so through this series of practices, they emerge, connecting with their highest self and feeling very empowered to step in and really, do some amazing things with their lives.
Okay, and when it comes to the subject of ascension, very controversial word, because people say we're not really ascending in any way, because ascension gives a hit, like the idea that we're rising above something, but we're not really rising above anything. We're just moving closer and closer to a point of infinite consciousness. And when it comes to ascension, some people have used the phrase ascension deception to describe how serious the matter is in regards to how people have been suckered into believing lies and all that. I mean, I don't want to, I hate to pick on Tolek like this, but I need to, for a moment, to kind of prove the point. Him and a few other people, there have been over the past like 5 or 6 years, lots of, or even longer for that matter, statements made by people that humanity will ascend. I mean, case in point, like Greg Braden, David Icke, and Ian Zell-Lungold, they were giving talks and all back in the early mid late 90s about how maybe by the end of the Mayan calendar of 2012, the Earth will start spinning the opposite direction in conjunction with a big consciousness shift for humanity. Well, that never happened. And Alex Collier, in his presentations in the 90s, he actually said that his ET Conics told him, they gave him an exact date of, I think it was December 13th, 2013, when humanity would ascend into fifth density, and that didn't happen. And on a related note, Tolek, of course, the whole January 2014 thing, he basically said that was going to happen, and well, that didn't happen. The rise into fourth density, as he put it. And of course, George Kavassilis, him too, he was also talking about December 21st, 2012. The Earth would rise up on its axis vertically, and until the date, the spring equinox of 2013, the Earth would like shed its outer layer and ascend into 5D. Well, that didn't happen, and now, last but not least, Reiko Solanic, E.T. Kadek, who lives in St. Louis, was a friend of Tolek. He had him on my show, and he was talking about how in the date sometime in 2017, for all intents and purposes, everything that Tolek said would happen in January 2014 but didn't happen would happen in 2017. And I'm hearing him talk about that, and I'm thinking, oh no, not this again. We've been down this road before. Why am I listening to this? I mean, I put him on the spot all right, and I was like, you do realize a lot of people are rolling their eyes and doing double face palms when you're saying this, because like we've been down this road before, and we haven't ascended. And well, Reiko Solanic has, for all intents and purposes, disappeared off the face of the earth. He hasn't responded to anything anybody's posted on his Facebook page, and kind of makes you wonder if he's deliberately disappeared off the face of the earth until 2017 is over, because he knows people are going to, when January 1st, 2018 comes around, people are going to, and we're still in these carbon-based meat suits and all, bodies like that, people are going to ask him, okay, we didn't ascend, so what happened? You got some explaining to do, and well, Lord only knows what answer he's going to give, but the point is, there's been a lot of ascension deception in regards to humanity ascending into like crystalline light-based bodies where maybe we could even burp butterflies and flatulate rainbows and all, as some people like George Cavazos have put it. And well, I don't know. It's really depressing to hear people talk about that. And when it comes to well, what is ascension? It's not what some people have talked about. So when you talk about ascension, do you talk about it in the form that I've talked about with those people who said this is going to happen, but it didn't, or is it a completely whole different subject matter that you think of?
I just simply inspire people to wake up every day and ascend into a higher version of themselves by being the best person that they can every day. And, you know, we are evolutionary beings, and if we intentionally create meaningful lives, we can consciously evolve towards more enlightened ones. And so I just encourage everyone every day to ascend into the highest version of themselves.
Okay, fair enough response right there. So also trying to improve mind, body, and spirit in general. It's interesting how this is something that always makes for great radio conversation. So I'm just gonna ask you about it like I have other people who talk about this. It's interesting how you write mind, body, and spirit, and not mind, body, and soul, because while some cultures say spirit and soul are two different words for the same thing, others assert there is a distinct difference between soul and spirit. One of the best examples I've heard is George Cavazos' explanation of how soul is the eternal essence, and consciousness, the awareness of being aware, emanates from soul, and spirit also emanates from soul. And spirit can be thought of as experienced manifestations of soul that play out in the acknowledged illusion of time and space. And although one of the speakers at Tolek's conference, he asserted that he thinks spirit is definitely more important than soul. And I asked him, how can you say that when spirit emanates from soul? And well, he gave his take on why he believes what he believes, and he said, hey, you're free to disagree with me, but you on your site decided to write mind, body, and spirit and not mind, body, and soul. So I'm kind of interested to know if there's a difference between soul and spirit. What is it in your mind's eye, and why do you choose mind, body, spirit and not mind, body, soul?
I'm just guiding people to participate in mental, physical, and spiritual practices that will be most conducive to their well-being so that they can be the highest mental, physical, and spiritual expression of themselves.
Okay, you fair enough. You said it pretty well. And so, what are we expecting to see like in the next few months, and also going up into 2018, in your opinion? Because I mean, there's been a lot of talk about what the solar eclipse that we had on August 2018 was all about, and also the fall equinox. What was the significance of that? Well, some people have said that it has a lot to do with like getting rid of everything that's not in your best interest. Just get rid of all that stuff, that all the baggage that you don't need, like um, well, I don't really know if that has how much that has to do with conspiracies, but one has to wonder if they're going to expose like conspiracy theorists are going to expose things that in the conspiracy world. I mean, are we supposed to pay attention to that or not? Like, it's funny how when October came around and I listened to my horoscope because I'm an Aries, and Kelly Rosano, who I listened to for the forecast, said um, in October you want to try to get rid of a lot of things that you do not that you don't need to carry anymore. And it's funny that she said that, and then the first day of October we had that shooting in Las Vegas, and a lot of info has come out showing that it's obviously not what we've been told it is, and one has to wonder, okay, does one have to pay attention to this kind of stuff in order to acknowledge that this world is nothing like we're seemed? But then on the other hand, you have people saying when like the world of conspiracies, that's one area you probably should move away from because it's not in your best interest to focus on non-love and not life-based things anymore. But are there exceptions to that? Because I mean, I was looking on Infowars .com earlier today, where I still get my news. I love Alex Jones. Some people think he's a buffoon, but I happen to like him. And he said, breaking news, Donald Trump planning to release CIA documents that show that Lee Harvey Oswald did not act alone in JFK assassination. So if this stuff does get released, I mean, are we supposed to just ignore it and say, "Oh, this is conspiracy stuff. We moved past this. Let's not worry about it anymore"? Or is it definitely worth paying attention to this stuff just for the sake of keeping ourselves at a high level of consciousness? There's no arguing that many people who are of a high spiritual awake nature, conspiracy theories played a big role in their awakening, and a lot of them have chosen to move past it. But if stuff comes out in the present day, like be it stuff that Donald Trump may release on JFK, or some people have said Edward Snowden is hopefully someday going to release information that shows 9/11 truth was right all along, and the world has no choice but to acknowledge that. I mean, why it's taken him so long to do that, I don't know. But if he does that, I mean, is it in our best interest to spread that information like crazy, or should we not focus on that anymore? Okay, I've asked too many questions and babbled long enough here. I think you should get what I'm trying to say. How do you know when you draw the line between worrying on this fear-based stuff that can wake up humanity, and when you're not supposed to worry about it anymore?
I don't really feel inclined to tell anybody what they should or shouldn't do. I'm personally not wrapped up in conspiracy theory. However, I am very well aware of many of the conspiracies and much of the deceit that has been imposed upon humanity. I do think that recognizing that we have been deceived in many very significant ways by, elitists and those who are in positions of power and control. And, I do believe that a major agenda of these people is to disempower humanity. So my main focus is to offer humanity the inspiration that they need to know that they have the power to rise up. I have dedicated my life to empowering humanity. So I do believe that being aware of some of what has been going on and what continues to go on is somewhat empowering, because knowledge is power. And so, being aware of some of this allows you to possibly take actions that may help the masses to rise up and overcome this effort by those in charge to disempower us. The best thing that I think we can do is to become more and more empowered so they don't have the power and control over us.
Well, thank you very much. But on a related note, you already gave your answer to this question at the conference when I asked it during the thing at the end where all the speaker panel and all. But I just got to ask it again because it's a crazy question, and it's funny how after I asked it, Tolek cleared his throat like he knew why I was asking it. The question I asked was, whenever people hold these conferences to wake people up and spread information and just in general get people together and have a good time and all, is it in their conference leader's best interest to invite, and I use this phrase, the Stuart Swerdlows of the world to the conferences to get the get the information out that may kind of make people, you know, uncomfortable because there's a lot of people in the spirituality community who, well, even though conspiracies played a big role in their awakening, you would think that, well, since it played a role in their awakening, it wouldn't bother them to hear it because they've heard it already and it helped them wake up. Well, that's not necessarily the case. I've heard many examples of people in the spirituality community say, don't talk about that stuff. It's making me uncomfortable. Can we please discuss more love-based stuff? And well, I find that to be a little bit of a problem when people in the spirituality community have that mentality, because I think, well, they need to suck it up and learn some self-discipline. Because if they're getting uncomfortable hearing that, well, then they lack discipline. They need to tough it out, and if they're not being able to tough it out, then they're well, dare I say it, a hindrance to the awakening of humanity. And it's funny how Stuart Swerdlow, he was at the Free Your Mind 2015 conference in Philadelphia. He gave a presentation, and at the end of the presentation, everyone in the conference erupted into thunderous applause, and nobody complained about how his talk was a little discomforting and making people uncomfortable. But yet, when Tolek invited Stuart Swerdlow to his conference in Tucson in October 2016, Stuart Swerdlow caused a lot of bad vibes, saying, talking about things like a staged alien invasion and all that, saying, and humanity's too stupid, we don't have a prayer, and things like that. He made a lot of people uncomfortable. And I'm like, well, isn't it interesting that the people that conference can't suck it up and deal with Stuart Swerdlow talking about this stuff, and the people at the Free Your Mind audience could? So is it fair to say the people at that Tolek's conference lack discipline? So that's why I asked the question, do you think maybe we need to invite the Stuart Swerdlows to these conferences to teach the audience members some discipline? And Tolek cleared his throat like, because as a joke as saying, I know why you're asking this, and well, I'm sure he got a kick out of it, but hey, you were one of the people that responded, and well, you gave your response, so I'm going to give you the chance again, just for the sake of making this a worthwhile interview here. What was your response? What would your response be to my question there?
I'm finding it hard to believe that you're dedicated to raising the love light frequency, my friend. And you know what? When you say the spiritual community, I mean, we're all each unique individuals, and there are many people who come to spiritual conferences to talk about conspiracy theory. It's all in the way that it's presented, my friend. So if Stuart is saying something like humanity is stupid, then he isn't empowering humanity. And so I can see why that would make people uncomfortable. My friend Tolek is a dear man who has dedicated his life to the ascension and awakening of humanity, and I'm not appreciating that you're discrediting him. Furthermore, Brad Olson, who is also a dear friend of mine, has a wonderful way of presenting conspiracy theory that's all about telling humanity that they have the power to rise up because they are smart and they are gifted and they are wise. And this is the way that conspiracy theory can be presented to empower humanity rather than saying that humanity is stupid. So, it's all in the way it's presented
I,
to
I,
any group. And please don't clump the spiritual community into one fell swoop.
I certainly won't, and I had no intention of discrediting Tolek. I don't see how inviting Stewart to the conference discredits him. It's just that he did go out and issue a little bit of an apology on his publicly on his site about this, and he didn't acknowledge who the speaker was, but anybody could deduce that he must have been referring to Stuart Swerdlow, because who else would he have been talking about? And Stuart didn't say anybody was stupid, humanity's stupid at the at Tully's conference. He actually said that on my radio show when I asked him, when he was talking about the staged alien invasion that he's thinking everybody's gonna, powers that be are gonna do. And I told him, well, a lot has changed since they staged 9/11 in 2001. If they try to do that again, there's no way they could get away with it because too many people are awake. And he said, well, humans by nature are, well, stupid. That's the word he used. And I guess his definition of stupid is like refusing to believe or refusing to acknowledge something shocking or disturbing because you can't handle the truth even though the evidence shows you have no choice but to believe it, and he was thinking humanity, a lot great portion of humanity is like that, and that's why he said something like, "Well, we don't have a prayer." But I assure you, I was in no way discrediting Tolek by saying that he invited Stewart to his conference, and that discredits him. No, no, no. He actually was, I guess, under some pressure from a lot of Stewart's fans who said he's definitely a good source of information, and he was, and he is, and it was a pretty landmark interview that I did with him. But you said that you don't think that you're a hindrance to the awakening of humanity in any way, just because you want to spread love and light, and of course you're not. And why would you be? It's the thing I'm talking about is though if you get uncomfortable hearing people talk about stuff like conspiracies, is that a sign that okay, this is something you need to work on a little bit in order to like improve your self-discipline and all that?
I'm not uncomfortable with it, and most of my friends in the spiritual community are not uncomfortable with it. It's all in the way that it's presented, like I said, whether it's presented in a way to empower people or whether it's presented in a way that uh, shines a negative light on humanity.
Mm. Well, a lot of the things he said were controversial, but I think we can think we can move on and let's focus on more love-based things for the rest of this interview. I think, and talking about Sedona, like you mentioned the light portals there and all that. Um, what exactly is it about Sedona that makes it such a hot spot regarding the stargates and everything? That's well. First of all, what is a? How can you best define a stargate for those that don't really understand what it is? And why is the Arizona area and Sedona area a hotspot for them? And also, is that why there's a lot of UFOs in the American Southwest?
Well, thank you for shifting the energy of the conversation, my dear. Yes, Sedona is an incredibly powerful place, and there's a bit of a scientific basis for that. The red rocks here are covered in iron ore, which has the effect of increasing the magnetic frequency, and then also some of the powerful spiraling energy here brings in some electric energy. Underneath the iron ore of the red rocks, there are remnants of quartz crystal, and that also attracts an electric energy. So there's a powerful electromagnetic radiance in Sedona, and it's even been shown from satellite imagery that there's about a 30-mile radius heat signature all around Sedona. So in areas like this that, have this higher electromagnetic radiance, it's very conducive to higher consciousness. And I think that's why this area attracts over 5 million tourists from around the world every year who want to come here and have an uplifting experience that will bring them into a place of higher consciousness. There are a lot of things going on in people's lives that are challenging, and of course, things are going on in the world, that people have, difficulty dealing with. And so coming to beautiful sacred sites like Sedona is a way to kind of get away from it all and experience some upliftment and some inspiration.
Yeah, I've been to Arizona 4 times in the past 2 years. Reason I seem to be actually I should have only been three. The first time turned out to be a little bit of a disaster. I'm not going to get into that some, but that's beside the point. But anyhow, is it a sign, like in your opinion, that if you find yourself going to places like Sedona, Arizona, or the American Southwest in these hotspot areas, and you find yourself doing it repeatedly over and over, and think you'll find yourself doing it again, like I am here, learning about your conference events, the Galactic Wave event and such in December. Um, can one? What are things that one can take away from that? Is it possible that this is it? I mean, there's no such thing as a coincidence in life. Everything happens for a reason. So you're taking these trips to a reason, for a reason. But when you find yourself going to the same area repeatedly because there's things going on there that make you, well, want to go there, I mean, is that a sign that you have past lives that were there, or there's things there that are connected to your soul, like soul shards of you are there, or what are some other reasons that you may be able to think of that are cause people to go to specific places repeatedly on pilgrimage or missions or whatever?
Yes, that's likely that people have had, powerful past life experiences in some of these sacred sites. Um, Also, I think there is a powerful spiraling energy around sacred sites that naturally attract people to them. So I think, there's many different reasons that people are attracted to sacred sites, but, you're mentioning like people constantly being drawn back to the same site. Maybe the first time they came, they had a really positive experience and they just want to experience that, same powerful inspirational energy again. Or, like you said, it's possible that they had, some past lives there and revisiting them is helping them to connect with their whole soul.
Thank you. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about some of these meditations that you do. Um, actually, first of all, karma consciousness guidelines for the cause and effect reflection consciousness. Like you to elaborate on what karma is and what it is not. A little bit of disagreement there in what regards to what some people think it is. It's a lot more complicated than some would assert. And also, how do you know what kind of karma you're going to get? Something I've talked about on my show a few times recently. Is karma, if you're going to get it for doing something, is it going to be eye for an eye karma, or is it going to be a series of like things happening to you to make up for the thing you did? What I mean by that is, well, let's take like an extreme example here. You get raped by someone, and you ask, why did this happen to me? How could I possibly be a victim of this crime that some people say is actually worse than murder? And you, like, let's say you do an Akashic Records reading on yourself or something. So you have an Akashic Records reader do a reading on you, and you discover, much to your horror, that the reason you got raped was because in a past life, you were the one who committed the crime of rape, and you had to resolve the karma for that, and that's why it happened to you. Now that's eye for an eye karma. It's all like played out in one single sitting, but that doesn't always happen. I mean, there could be other examples where a series of unpleasant things happens to you over the course of X amount of days, weeks, or months, to equal the damage that you caused in a past life doing whatever it is that you did that was bad, and then sooner or later, creator, source, or whoever it is who's watching over the karma decides, okay, you've suffered enough, you've gotten enough punishment for the things you did. I'm not going to punish you any further. Well, that's not eye for an eye. That's a series of things happening to you over the course of X amount of time to make up for the thing you did. So who decides, and how is it decided by the universe, whether the karma that you get for what you did is going to be eye for an eye or not eye for an eye, a series of things over the course of time? And well, in general, after you answer that question, I see here guidelines for the cause and effect reflection process. Why don't you elaborate in great detail, because we got to get a full 2 hour show in here, and this is definitely something worthwhile. Why don't you talk about everything that's written on this this article here, this karma consciousness article? And okay, you got the floor.
Thank you for that. When I first started on my spiritual path, I started to study Buddhism. And I found it really refreshing that in Buddhism, you're really responsible for the energy that you create in your life by the things that you think and say and do. And it gives people some responsibility for the way that they decide to live their lives. And so, my recommendation is that people wake up every day and they redirect any of their thoughts and words and actions that aren't conducive to their well-being or the well-being of others, so that they are constantly generating positive karma in their lives. If we have done things in this incarnation that we are aware did not serve the highest good for ourselves or others, we have the opportunity to reflect upon that and express regret. And we can even do a practice of making confessions and, committing to ourselves that going forward we will not commit those acts or behave in such a way that does not serve the highest good for ourselves or others. And so in this way, we can absolve and balance any negative karma that we've created and just make an effort going forward to generate only positive karma. By being the most virtuous beings that we possibly can and spreading love and light and compassion and kindness. And if we have created things in our past lives that, we are not aware of, just by generating the most virtuous and positive karma you can in this life can simply balance that.
Thank you very much. So let's see. I'm trying to. Okay, preparing for reflection. Life experiences, karma, cause and effect, choices of personal note and reflection, and all that. But what exactly is a reflection? I mean, is it just a matter of sitting back in a comfortable chair and thinking about the things that you've done and thinking about how you can learn from it and all, or is there a lot more to it? Well, this is a 10-day workshop of sorts, but when you want to teach people to reflect on, well, what exactly does reflect mean? How does it tie into like a mirror reflection, your own reflection in a mirror? Because a lot of people think of reflecting as in reliving and rethinking. Well, that doesn't really seem to tie into like a mirror reflection, or does it? I mean, I guess it's a point of view issue. So why don't you tell us how does one reflect? I mean, if they did this workshop, what would they find? And if they can't do this workshop for whatever the reason, how do you suggest they go about reflecting on their own?
So in my book, I have provided a format in which people can engage in self-reflection and self-exploration. And this is a series of questions that they are guided through that help them to reflect on the experiences that they've had in their life thus far. And in doing this comprehensive self-exploration, many things are revealed about themselves, and sometimes patterns are revealed. And within those patterns are the life lessons that we have come here to learn in this lifetime. So in my book, I've set up a process of karmic cause and effect analysis. So when people, go through the self-reflection and self-exploration processes I've outlined in my book, they are able to identify the causes of the experiences that have happened in their lives. And when they reflect on the effects that these experiences have had on themselves and others, the life lessons that they're meant to learn from them become crystal clear. And once people can identify the life lessons that they've come here to learn, they can start intentionally creating the experiences which incorporate those life lessons so that they can consciously evolve towards more advanced ones. And this is how we intentionally create and consciously evolve. So throughout the book, it is designed that in such a way that you can let go of any negative emotions, energy, karma around these experiences. You can embrace the positive lessons that you have learned from them and apply those to your life today. And it's a form of consciously evolving. Along with the self-reflection and exploration comes meditation. And in these meditations, you are guided to engage your senses and recreate those experiences so that you can see them in a brighter light, knowing that they were simply intended to teach you these important lessons. And then there is also journaling as well. So it is a process that is very cathartic and allows people to intentionally create meaningful experiences and consciously evolve toward more enlightened ones.
Thank you. And since we need to get a full 2-hour interview in here, I'd like to give you the chance to explain some of these meditations and also the specific science and metaphysics behind how they work. So I guess we'll take this one by one here. The dynamic movement and inspirational breathing practices. Well, when it comes to breathing, they always say breathing is well, focusing on your breathing specifically is how you can clear your mind of thoughts. And it's for those that, for whatever the reason, don't really get into the whole meditative thing. One of the more basic exercises I've heard, Dr. Edward Group, frequent guest on Infowars, he has said one of the most basic exercises one can do is 9 deep breaths. There's a magic number of 9 for some reason. He didn't really get into why it is. In fact, he said, I don't really know why it is. A lot of people don't. But it's if you do 8, it won't work as well. If you do 10, well, maybe that's one too many. 9 deep breaths seems to be the key in regards to clearing your mind and being able to relax better. So, well, that being said, I'd like to ask you, well, do you have any hunches or theories as to why 9 is the magic number in regards to that simple exercise for those that just don't really want to meditate, but I'd rather just do that 9 deep breaths exercise. But also, well, after you give your take on that, specifically get into the science, please, behind these dynamic movements. Well, what are the dynamic movements that you make, and why is the breathing inspirational? Are two basic questions I think I should ask for starters here. So yeah, why is it dynamic? What kind of movements you do? How is the breathing inspirational? Yeah, give your take on all this.
Okay. Well, first of all, 9 is probably significant because 9 is a number for completion. So at your 9 breath, you are complete with that breathing practice. Inspirational breathing. Well, for one, breathing involves inspiration and expiration. So it's just sort of a play on the word inspiration for breathing. But certainly breathing oxygenates your body, which stimulates your body. The book is all about body, mind, and spirit. So the dynamic movement and inspirational breathing is about getting in touch with your body. When you sit and you focus on your breathing, you are simply coming into the present moment. It gives you an opportunity to let go of all those busy thoughts about the past and the future and simply be present by focusing on your breath. It helps you to get centered and balanced and oxygenate your body. And so once you come into a place where you are calm and centered and in touch with your body, then you can enter into dynamic movement therapy. And this dynamic movement therapy is flowing movements that, again, allow you to stimulate your physical being. And the flowing movements are also a way to get some flowing energy moving around you. And doing these movements before sitting in meditation for any period of time also loosens up your muscles so that you can sit for a while in meditation without getting stiff. So the dynamic movement therapy and inspirational breathing are done prior to sitting in meditation. Most of my meditations take you through some type of chakra clearing and cleansing. As we move through the workshop, we're focused on clearing specific energy centers. It's very powerful in meditation to sit and get grounded into the earth beneath you. So one of the first things that we do in meditation is tune into the earth beneath us. And that is a way of really grounding. And we are really connected to Mother Earth. So when we imagine that we are actually running a spiraling line of energy from our root chakra into the heart of Mother Earth, it's really a way of connecting into our mother. And it's a beautiful practice that keeps you grounded during your meditation. When you pull that magnetic line of energy up from the heart of Mother Earth, it ignites your root chakra. And that really is your survival chakra. And as we spin that chakra, we imagine that any shadows that are resting on that wheel are thrown off as we spiral it faster and wider. And so what we're doing is we're releasing any fears or negative emotions around our survival. We imagine a bright white light in the center of that root chakra being illuminated and expanding as we move into a place of love And then we imagine a spiraling line that moves up our spine into our second sacral chakra. And this chakra is all about creativity and reproductivity. And so we want to spin this bright orange wheel. And again, we want to throw off any negative emotions or fear that is residing within that chakra as we spin it and clear it and connect to it. And imagine that bright white light illuminating that wheel. And then we imagine that spiraling life force energy moving up into the solar plexus. And this is really our center of empowerment. This is the power chakra, and it's brightly lit with golden light. And as we spin that chakra, again, any shadows are thrown off. So any belief that we are limited, anything that is disempowering us is thrown off in this process. And we spin it and it becomes a bright white light, which empowers us and gives us that golden light radiant energy that expands within our being. And that spiraling life force energy then ascends into the higher chakras, first entering that heart chakra. And this is a beautiful emerald green wheel. And on that wheel, any shadows around your feelings about self-love or love for others are also cleared out and cleansed. So you spin that chakra and you imagine a bright white light expanding in your heart center. As you expand your heart, you want to imagine this incredible radiant energy surrounding your being and increasing the love that you have for yourself. And then as it expands and it includes more and more of those around you, and maybe the entire planet, and maybe even the entire galaxy, you're expanding your love far and wide, and it's a very powerful practice. Then you imagine that spiraling life force energy entering into your throat chakra. And this is a pale blue chakra, and it's all about communication and communion. So when you spin that wheel, you are clearing your ability to communicate effectively to others with kindness and understanding and compassion. This wheel is also important for communing with others in a powerful way that's conducive to all of your health and well-being. So this is also a very powerful wheel. And as you imagine that life force energy spiraling up into your third eye chakra, this is your indigo chakra. This chakra, when spun in the clockwise and counterclockwise direction, really opens the portal to your crown chakra. This indigo chakra gives you access to infinite consciousness, infinite wisdom and knowledge from all time, space, and beyond into the eternal now moment. So if you can imagine your third eye being a portal through which divine consciousness can flow, an access point for you to receive infinite knowledge and wisdom, and for you to tap into the infinite field of knowledge from all time, space, and beyond, then you will have access to all of that, all of the Akashic records. And so this also is a powerful practice. As we move into the crown chakra, you imagine this spiraling life force energy centering in at the top of your crown. And this is a beautiful violet wheel. And sometimes it's called the 1,000-petal lotus at the crown of your head. And spinning this wheel opens you up to receive divine consciousness from the highest realms. This is an important wheel to keep open when you are accessing this divine consciousness, when you are accessing your highest self, when you are connecting with guidance from those higher realms. And so there's also an 8th chakra that is seated just above your head. It is sometimes referred to as the soul star. Igniting this soul star just above your head is also an incredibly empowering practice. And if you wish to direct your thoughts to the highest levels, you can just imagine this beautiful gold star above your head and tune all of your energy into that soul star. And your thoughts will be redirected to the highest self-expression of who you truly are as a divine being.
So I take it you're very big on on chakra science, and you believe they're a critical aspect of our awakening and all. Well, of course, there's those that beg to differ. I personally can't help but pick on George Kavasilis for the way he says chakras are a 3D construct, not really worth focusing on them. It's in your best interest, he asserts, to he uses the phrase dissolve chakras. Dissolve is the word he uses. Not exactly sure how you can imagine that, but I guess the way he thinks of it is just imagine, to the best of your ability, all your chakras going into one point, and it seems that the heart is the point that he wants to put all the chakras into, because he was always going with the heart soul essence. Some people have said that if George Kavasilis really has gotten rid of his chakras, then, well, he wouldn't have an aura. I haven't really researched the science behind how that would be the case. So I guess that's a question I'd like to ask you. For one, is it true that if you get rid of all your chakras and or dissolve all your chakras into one, be it the heart or whatever chakra you want, would you not have an aura? And second of all, I mean, is it really in your best interest to dissolve them if you do decide to do that, to dissolve them into the heart? I mean, one would have to think that, well, how could you say the heart is the most important chakra when, as you get higher up, you ascend to higher levels of consciousness? One would have to think, okay, the crown chakra, or the one you just said, the eighth one, which is above that, is the one you're going to go with. I mean, Akashic Records reader Andrew Bartzis has said that the crown chakra plays a very pivotal role in his ability to access the Akashic Records, which can enable him to, for all intents and purposes, answer any question you throw at him. He can access the Akashic Records to answer any question, and the crown chakra helps him do that. But George Kavasilis, he can't use the heart chakra to answer any question he wants. I know that because I once asked him in a private session I had with him, do you by any chance know which moons in the solar system besides Earth's moon are artificial? And he said, no, I do not. It's not a form of information that I keep stored within my heart soul essence. So clearly, if you want to be a know-it-all, the heart chakra is not the way to go. It seems that the crown chakra would be the way to go if you want to be a know-it-all who can be a know-it-all by accessing the Akashic Records, or any other way that you can think of to become a know-it-all. So the idea of getting all the chakras into one, is that a good or a bad idea? If you did that, would you not have an aura anymore? And why could you? Why would? Well, I have to ask George why he chooses the heart, but do you have any idea why he would choose to dissolve them all into the heart and not the crown or some other chakra?
Yeah, that sounds like kind of an absurd concept that I haven't heard of, but I like to think of ourselves as rainbow bodies of light. So these chakras aren't operating independently of each other. They are all connected, and I like to actually connect our energetic beings to the heart of Mother Earth and to the heart of the of Source. So, that being said, we are a rainbow body of light. And if you see the chakras as all connected on one spiraling line of life force energy, then they become one. But they still have their own individual expression of a distinct type of energy serving a distinct purpose in each of our beings as rainbow light beings connected to the heart of Mother Earth and the heart of the cosmos. So, I don't think they operate independently, and I can't imagine dissolving them because they each serve a specific and distinct purpose.
Right. But when it comes to the idea of helping people heal and activate their chakras, I mean, is it something that you would have to get permission to be able to do to someone? I'm asking this because Daniel Teague of VegasStarHealings.com, he has the ability to, among other things, check someone's chakras to see which ones are spinning or not spinning or completely energetically blocked, and he has the ability to get them all active and spinning at the same rate. And he checked on me, and the first time he did this, and he discovered that my crown and my third eye were spinning and active, but all my other ones, they weren't energetically blocked, but not spinning to their full potential. And oh, that must mean I'm really, really focusing on spirituality a little more than I should, and maybe I need to get down to earth a little bit to ground myself and all. Although so that seemed kind of counterintuitive to me because I spent a lot of time in nature making contact with Mother Earth and dirt and all that, and I'm thinking, okay, so why would my chakras not be active and all? Well, on the other hand, I do have a father who's always bitched at me about focusing on third dimensional construct stuff like money and all that, and how he thinks getting a job and survival is paramount and all that. So maybe that implanted some sort of a subconscious thought in me when I was young. I tried to get rid of that and all with listening to audio and stuff that allegedly gets rid of through subliminal messages bad thoughts in your subconscious mind about money and thinking you have to survive and all that. So but still, he found that my chakras were blocked, and he gave me he asked, do I have your permission to get them all spinning again? And I did, and he said they're all spinning now. And although when I was at a Being One center in this place not too far from where I live, a metaphysical hotspot place, this Reiki practitioner was doing a session on me. We were meditating, and she was doing Reiki on us to check our chakras, and she told me that my crown and third eye um, were spinning. My heart was a little bit blocked though, and also my root was just a little bit blocked. It seemed like what Daniel Teague did on me was great for a certain point, but over the course of time, it seemed to wear down a little bit because those things that I had been that bothered me in life, if bother is the right word to use, that would cause my chakras to become suppressed, had taken their toll over time and all that. So, I mean, how is one supposed to if they like get a healing like the one Daniel Teague did on me? What do they need to do in order to keep their chakras all spinning and active and not get back to square one again? And for that matter, and aside from that, another question I have for you is, can you do this to someone without their permission? And because for Mother's Day and Father's Day, this past Mother's Day and Father's Day, as a gift from my mother and father, what I did was I paid Daniel Teague to get all their chakras active and spinning again. And they're not really into metaphysical stuff like I am. I mean, my father's in particular, his crown, third eye, and throat were energetically blocked, but Daniel T got them all active again, allegedly. And but some people say, well, I don't really know if I can believe that Daniel T could do that, because don't you need to get permission from someone in order to be able to get their chakras spinning? And I never actually told my parents that I'm gonna, as a gift, have Daniel T do a chakra activation on you. Um, and so but he said he was able to do it anyway, even though he didn't actually get, strictly speaking, permission from them. So this idea that okay, so my two questions here: if someone does a chakra activation on you, like Daniel Teague does, how do you keep your chakras at full potential? And second of all, can someone activate chakras for someone else as a good deed and all if they feel like it without actually getting permission from that person? And if so, how?
Well, it's my understanding that gifted psychics can actually tune in to the higher selves of beings that they work with remotely, so that the permission that they're getting is actually the permission of the higher selves of those beings. And I've been present when gifted psychics have tuned into the higher selves of beings who've been wide open to the energetic practices that they are asking to perform on them. And I've been present when the psychics have reached out to the higher self of these beings, and that higher self has said, no, you do not have permission to do this on this, 3D body. So, yeah, that's fascinating. And, it sounds to me like Danielle is a gifted psychic. And so she's actually getting permission from the higher selves of your mother and father in that case. And so that is a form of higher permission. Regarding, keeping those chakras clear and fully functioning, obviously it's a mind, body, spirit thing. So, while the energetic practice of cleaning, spinning, clearing them, visually imagining them spinning with that bright white light and the shadows, being thrown off, it's a powerful energetic practice. But of course, it's mind, body, spirit. So if our mind starts to engage in thoughts around fear, like you were saying, probably there's a lot of us who have fear in the survival chakra around simply survival, having enough money to have food and shelter. And so, thoughts around fear will certainly end up as shadows on that root chakra. So, it's a matter of constantly redirecting the thoughts, doing the inner work. My book, Wake Up, is all about liberating the mind from those limiting beliefs, giving you practices to stay out of fear and into love. So, certainly we have to keep focusing on liberating our minds and staying in those higher thoughts and not engaging in thoughts around fear, or if, those thoughts continue to arise, doing what we, whatever we can, whether it's reaching out for spiritual counseling to help us, alleviate those, those fears or limiting beliefs. But certainly it's a mind-body connection there.
Awesome, thank you very much. And all right, next thing I want to talk about. Great Spirit of Light, VIS-MED, this powerful visualization meditation guides you through the method of spinning your chakras so that your spiritual energy can flow freely. So, okay, spinning the chakras, you said you have to envision that happening. I mean, I realize your thoughts manifest into reality, so one would think, okay, by virtue of the fact that your thoughts manifest in reality, then simply envisioning your chakras spinning is going to help and all. But I mean, that's not the end all be all. There's got to be more to it. I mean, I sometimes during the winter months when I can't really meditate outside as easily, there's the Eric Bartle YouTube channel, one of the more prominent YouTube channels out there in regards to getting healings and meditation and sounds that are like spiritually enlightening and all that. They have solfeggio meditations and also chakras. Chakra healings and activations, like 15 minutes for each chakra, and then there's like a 20-minute session where they do like a few minutes for each chakra in particular. And when you're doing those meditations, like on that channel and all, or any sort of chakra meditation, is it in your best interest to, like, as much as you possibly can, to make the most of the meditation, to envision the chakras spinning, or some people may say, well, you don't want to obsess about it too much, because some people, when they meditate, they like try to obsess too much about seeing and manifesting things and all that, and it's some people say it's in your best interest not to do that. Just like relax and let Source, if you ask Source and your angels and guides to guide you and help you through the meditation, then you can take it easy, if you will, and not obsess so much about thinking about something that you want to manifest, in this case your chakra spinning. So I guess the fair question for this, or like for this meditation or any other meditation in general, how do you know the extent to which you need to think about something and get really emotional about your thoughts? Because it's not thoughts that create things so much as emotions. Emotions are the real key here. Thoughts are electric, emotions are magnetic. That's what really makes a difference. How do you know when you draw the line in regards to being really thoughtful and emotional and passionate about making your most meditations, and when can you take a step back and relax and say, okay, I don't need to obsess about this anymore. Let Source do the dirty work for me, if you will. Not that it's dirty work.
Yes, all good questions. When you first go into meditation, obviously there's many different ways to meditate, and some people are able to do it on their own and use their power of intention to get grounded into Mother Earth and get centered within their own being, and then connect into higher realms. That is just the beginning of the meditation. Once you move through that process of getting grounded, centered, and connected, then you can open to whatever it is that you receive during that meditation. So, it's all about intention. So I think there's many different types of meditation, many different reasons that people meditate. So if, and as you go through the book, you'll find that there's 10 different meditations. So some of these meditations are just around, relaxing and reducing stress, just getting calm, letting go of all those busy thoughts in your head. And other meditations have a greater intention of maybe releasing negative emotions around a past memory, if you will. Or maybe you're going to have a meditation where you want to visually manifest something. Or, maybe there's a meditation where you want to have guidance come in from higher realms, or maybe you just want to connect into source consciousness and see what unfolds in your meditation without any effort at all. So depending on the day, depending on your intention, depending on what you need in that moment, I mean, there's many different ways that you can engage in meditation, for the different purposes that you want to achieve. And I also like that, you would tune into a YouTube channel, and maybe engage in somebody else guiding your meditation. And certainly sound is very powerful. I really love that, people would engage in a meditation and have some kind of powerful resonance through sounds that create a higher vibration or a higher frequency. That would certainly be conducive to connecting into source as well. So, and there are some really specialized tones that serve different purposes during meditation as well. So yes, many different ways to meditate for different reasons. And it's all very powerful. And like you said, thoughts are electric and emotions are magnetic. And, certainly raising that electromagnetic frequency within your being and really understanding the power of your thoughts and certainly those emotions, the passion around, what you're envisioning is what really triggers, creation and manifestation. So, yes, I like all of that, what you're saying.
Thank you. And moving on to another VIS-MED meditation here, page, the whole 10-day thing with day 1 transformation, day 2 transition, then closure, then new beginnings, then harmony, then healing, reawakening, synchronicity, suffering, and 10th is death and dying. Of course, there's no such thing as death, so one would be a little skeptical here seeing that, and why you would choose that is, well, actually, I want to know why you chose all these. I'd like to give you the floor now to go day by day, from day 1 to day 10, and what each of these do, and why you gave them the words, titles you did for each one. And you said it's interesting how you have 10 days. Didn't we say earlier that 9 is a number of completion? Wouldn't it make more sense to have 9 days instead of 10 days? So why do you choose 10, and why do you choose the 10 different words here for this? You got the floor. How does this thing work?
Oh, thank you for asking. The book is simply taking you through those experiences that we all share in this collective consciousness. This is a consensus reality, and as we move through our lives, we all have similar experiences. So when those of us who have transformational experiences truly experience a personal transformation, in the form of an awakening, for instance, after a transformational experience and we have this awakening, there is then after that a period of transition. We literally have to transition from the way that we were before this experience to this new way of living and being. And so I guide the participants into a place where they can transition from an old way of looking at the world, looking at themselves, into a new way of living and being in the world. And then, of course, there has to be closure on our old way of being. And that looks different for different people. But sometimes we have to close the doors on some of the old ways of being. And sometimes it might be as dramatic as moving away from a certain place, or it might be, seeking a different type of community. But there is certainly some closure around that. And following that, then there are new beginnings as you awaken to a new reality around you, and you are having revelations and epiphanies, and there are many new beginnings that take place. Maybe new doors open for you where you have the opportunity to take a new direction in your life, maybe one that's more aligned with your true calling and your true purpose. So we explore new beginnings and what that might look like. And then we continue to move through different stages as your life progresses, as your spiritual path gets wider and brighter, and as you continue on your evolutionary journey. We bring you into the final chapters around death and dying, because all of us in our lives have loved ones who move through a process of leaving their physical body. And although we know that our souls are eternal and we don't actually die as a soul, dropping the physical body is and can be a traumatic experience for the person who is going through that process, and also the loved ones who are going through it with them. And so the purpose of that part of the workshop is to hold the space for that individual so that you are being an inspiring and supportive part of their journey, and also for yourself. So I'm giving you practices to help you deal most effectively with the loss of that 3D form of your loved one, and knowing that they're not going to be in your life in that way moving forward. And it is also about the eternal nature of the soul, so that you can inspire the one who is passing that, they are going to live on and they are going to move on. And some people aren't open to that. And if it makes them uncomfortable, you can simply, hold the space for them. And then, maybe have some opportunity to communicate with them after they pass on. But, just giving some guidance around the best way to support a loved one who may be passing, and then practices you can engage in to help move you through the loss of that 3D form of your loved one as well. So I share some personal stories as we move through this process. With each day of the workshop, I share a personal story that is simply designed to give the reader the courage to unveil their own experiences, find things within my own personal experience that resonate for them, that they can relate to as having had a similar experience in their life. And then I demonstrate how I take those personal experiences and reveal the causes and effects, and reveal the lessons that were hidden within them. So it's a really powerful journey. I think it's very cathartic for people to move through a process of reflecting on the experiences that they've had in their lives, and understanding more about who they are and who they are authentically, and what their true purpose and calling is here on the planet. Moving through a cathartic process like this can also awaken people to their higher purpose. Of course, all of the meditations allow them to awaken to their spiritual self, connect with their higher self, and connect into guides in the higher realms. So all of the practices in each day of the workshop have been specifically designed for the purpose of catharsis, of spiritual advancement, and also evolutionary progression. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to present the book today, and also to let people know that there are companion workshops on the website, so that they can play these audios and videos that I've offered to guide them through the workshop as well. And then, of course, there's all of the audio downloads of the meditations, and they're all free on the website. So whether you purchase the book or not, you can simply go to the website and download these audio versions of all of the meditations. And then with the dynamic movement therapy, of course, that's a video. So you can just play the video and follow along with these dynamic flowing movements. And also the inspirational breathing is on that video as well. So after you perform these dynamic movements, you can sit and do some inspirational breathing practices that are all, very conducive to your mental, physical, and spiritual well-being.
And I can assure you that I'm going to be doing some of these meditations as the cold weather is approaching, and I'm going to be doing more indoor meditations using my computer, and for that using audio and such. So I'll definitely keep your website bookmarked to know that this is a source of meditation that I can do at some point. So that being said, also getting back to, you said something about higher selves and communicating with higher selves to know it's okay to do a healing. And my friend Daniel Teague did that. Oh, you said you thought it was Danielle Teague. It's not Danielle. It's Daniel. He's a man.
Oh,
So it's okay.
okay.
Maybe okay. That's side point. Anyhow, you said they communicate with higher selves, and well, for those that don't understand this, I think why don't you explain, well, what a higher self is? How do you know how many higher versions of yourself do you have? And well, is there such a thing as lower selves? I mean, some people would think that down here in the third dimension, it's about as low as you could possibly get on this planet that some people dare to still call a prison planet. How can we get any lower than that? But are there like maybe actually a lower selves for all intents and purposes that are of a lower consciousness than this? Is that even possible? And if there isn't, well, then let's talk about the higher selves. How do you know how many higher selves you have? How do higher selves work? How can one communicate with a higher self? And is it possible to actually see a higher self being? Like, could a higher self entity, like maybe, I don't know, shapeshift into the human form that it's a lower self of, and manifest itself some way? Or is that does shapeshifting not work like that? So tell us about what higher selves are, the science behind how they work, how many of them there are, and all the rest of it. You got the floor.
That's a pretty involved question, my friend, and I'm not sure that, I have the great answer for that. But what I do know is that each and every one of us are multi-dimensional beings. And so as we continue to focus intentionally on consciously evolving our beings, one powerful practice is to set an intention to connect into those multi-dimensional aspects of your being, which can range in, dimensions, if you will, first through maybe 13. So, if you can imagine that you have a whole soul emanating 12 aspects of who you truly are as a multi-dimensional being, then as a 3D being, you would be attempting to connect into your higher selves, which then would be 40, 5D, 60, 70, and that really is a powerful practice. And there certainly are guides who can do that, who can tune you into these other dimensional aspects of your whole self. So certainly we want to focus on evolving through these higher dimensional aspects and not devolving into lower dimensional expressions of ourselves. So simply focusing on connecting into those higher dimensional expressions of who we are. And of course, just being present with who we are right here and now as a beautiful expression of a 3D being. However, I do like to encourage people to, always be progressing on their paths and always making an effort to intentionally create the most meaningful lives that they can, and so that they can consciously evolve toward, an enlightened way of living and being in the world.
Thank you. And we got about maybe 10 minutes left on this show, maybe a little longer, 15 or so. So I'd like to finish up a couple more subjects. One particular in regards to how we can move to higher consciousness. Um, Food and drugs. Let's talk about this for a moment here. When it comes to food, a lot of people have asserted in the present day that humanity, we really weren't supposed to be omnivores. We were supposed to be herbivores. We're the only animal in the primate family that eats meat, and well, more and more people are moving to vegetarian-based diets, if not vegan, at least not eating actual meat, either in dairy or eggs, at at best, at worst, if you will, if that best or worst, whatever you want to say. And in regards to whether certain foods like that are bad, I mean, some videos have come out talking about how like milk is really not as all healthy and cracked up as we've been led to believe it is. It's better to get your calcium using leafy green vegetables and all that. And I mean, the human body is really not supposed to be consuming the milk of cows. I mean, just think about it. We're the only animal that consumes the milk other than the milk that we get from ourselves. It's not just mother's milk we drink from the breast. It's cow's milk from the udders, and we're not really supposed to be doing that. And I've heard controversy about eggs in regards to like Dr. Joel Wallach, naturopathic doctor. He says he eats like 6 eggs a day, and he says an egg is like a natural multivitamin, multi-mineral for all intents and purposes, and it's great for people that have dementia. I mean, he asserted that all that stuff you hear about eggs being like heart attack and stroke causers is bullcrap. Eggs, all the cholesterol in eggs is 100% good cholesterol. It's not going to eating a lot of eggs is not going to increase your chance of getting a stroke or heart attack. He asserted, and but some like strict vegans would assert that no, there is problems with eating eggs, and I mean, I don't know what the exact problems are. I've heard different stories on what it is, and all. Had a recent vegan on my show talk about why she thinks eggs are not really so good. I guess the reason I don't really remember what she said is because I'm not really buying it so much. No disrespect to her, and not only that, I recently lost a friend who was a vegan. Now, he didn't ditch me as a friend. I ditched him. After becoming a vegan, he became a total jerk. I mean, it seemed like when I met him for the first, well, I didn't meet him. I talked to him for like the first time in over a year. Decided to chill with him out in nature. Said, "You want to chill today? It's been a while since we talked." And he bicycled over from his house to meet up with me, and seemed like everything I wanted to say, he wanted to disagree with, and he wanted to call people. He wanted to go be at odds with anybody who's not vegan. And it's funny how I remember my horoscope from that day saying a pink elephant in the room will be brought to your awareness. If I didn't know better, I think the pink elephant in the room is I have to ditch this vegan guy as a friend because a friendship with him is not compatible with me because he's going to be such a jerk with me. So I haven't talked to him since, and I don't think I ever will. I decided to ditch him. So I don't know if this is what exactly happened. Maybe the vegan becoming a vegan is too much of a shock to his system and all that. But the vegan I had on my show asserted that that wasn't the case. But now that's the food issue and whether or not veganism is the way to go, and if not, is it vegetarian, and are eggs and dairy bad for us? And in regards to drugs that we can use for spiritual awakening, I mean, you want to stay away from alcohol, cocaine, heroin, and that. But some other like hallucinogenic psychedelic drugs, LSD, cough medicine, ayahuasca, even PCP and ketamine, controversy there. Some people say they can be recipes for disaster. Use them, but I don't know. Maybe they. I guess it depends on the individual, but a lot of people have received a lot of spiritual enlightenment from those psychedelics, disassociatives, and even the deliriums like Amadine and Muscaria. But I have heard on the flip side, if you really want to have a nice spiritual awakening, you really got to learn how to get high on sobriety. I mean, some have even asserted that high level consciousness entities, when we get high on drugs, you may think that when you get high on something like that, you can communicate with the spirit world better, but it actually causes interference, if you will, by making it harder for those entities to interact with us. It produces a problem when we're sober. It's actually easier for them to interact with us. The drug that we're high on is not acting as a barrier if we're sober, some have asserted. So in regards to what we should be eating, and do you see drugs as like psychedelic, dissociative, delirium drugs as a potential to become awakened? Is there do you advise it or do you not recommend it? If you do recommend it, what words of caution do you want to give? You got the floor.
Regarding the food questions, I just think each individual is so unique and they have different, specific nutrient requirements based on, their current health. And um, I think that blood type diet is kind of interesting in that, there's different specific foods that are conducive to the well-being of some, while may not be conducive to the well-being of others. I know some people go vegan and they feel great. Some people go vegetarian and, that seems to be a good fit for them. And then other people try that and it's just not a good fit. They just don't feel well. It's possible they're not doing it properly. They're not getting enough protein in their diet or what have you. But it's been my experience that, experimenting with different ways of healthy eating. Of course, you're going to want to try to choose those foods that are as pure as possible and as free of chemicals and antibiotics and, all the crap that's, tends to go into food, especially processed food. So just, choosing the healthiest food you can and just experimenting to see if, if vegan works for you or if vegetarianism works for you. I mean, I think, a lot of people don't want to see animals harmed and such, but if they try to go vegetarian and it just doesn't work for them and they're finding themselves feeling ill or weak and then maybe they need to be carnivores and maybe that is most conducive to their well-being. So I think it's a matter of personal preference and experimentation to see what works best for each unique person and their specific health needs and of course preferences. On the drug question, I agree with you that your goal is to be able to connect with spirit without the influence of drugs. However, I do understand that there are some drugs like, I guess LSD and ayahuasca. I personally have never done those, but I do understand that it can offer an awakening experience that allows you to connect in to some revelations that, after the drug wears off, maybe you then can continue to connect into. Maybe you have, you gather an understanding about the true nature of reality, or, maybe you see into other dimensions or into a spirit world and you get there in a way that you couldn't get there without it. So that, may be a gateway for an initial experience. However, it would seem to me that after you've been shown that, you wouldn't want to continue to use that drug, to use the LSD or the ayahuasca, or certainly not to get dependent on that for your ability to have a spiritual experience. And of course, we know that there are detrimental effects. Certainly, the ayahuasca journey begins with really intense vomiting. And that just can't be good for your intestinal tract. And certainly you see people who have lost their back teeth because of all the bile, that comes up from the vomiting experience. And, so that isn't conducive to your health and well-being to use that on a regular basis, of course. But like I said, to try it as possibly an initial experience that connects you into something that you may not otherwise, be able to see, and then just to set it aside and be able to continue to tune into that experience, or embrace that new revelation or that new understanding.
Yeah, I will say one of the reasons I went down to Arizona was to do a peyote ceremony down in the Wilcox area at the Peyote White Church, and that was an experience to remember. I had a lot of fun doing that. I did that on the first day of spring. Well, actually, it was the transition from winter to spring in 2016. On that exact time period, I figure maybe that was a good time to do something like that, and I think it was pretty worthwhile. But it's going to be a one and done thing. I'd like to go down to South America to do an ayahuasca ceremony sometime in 2018. Spoke to some people about that, and I think that's also going to be just a one and done thing, and maybe someday even an iboga ceremony in Africa. Although that's you got to be careful going into Africa. I've heard a lot of people say the tribes people may force you to get an inoculation if you go into their territory if you want to do iboga. So I don't know, but anyhow. Well, it's 8:04. I said I'd try to give you a full 2 hours, in which case I would make you go to 8:10. So, really, I don't know what else to talk about. So I guess at the end of this interview now, I'll let you get out anything you like for the next 5 or 6 minutes. Not that you may need all that, but and then like maybe give a quick recap of your contact info and maybe some more events that you see happening in the future after the ones in December, so people can maybe make a note of that or something. So anything you like for the next 5 minutes or so, finish up for us.
Thank you for that, my friend. Yes, I just want to, visit, suggest that people visit the lightenuptv.net site to see some of the interviews. And since we have a couple of extra minutes, I wanted to let them know that some of those interviews of global thought leaders include Alan Steinfeld of New Realities TV. I recently did an interview with Travis Walton. We have an interview with Michael Tellinger coming up, as well as Barbara Hanclow. We did a guest panel with JJ and Desiree Hertok that also included Clifford Mahudi. We have Christine Day coming up, who is a Pleiadian ambassador. The list goes on of all of these incredibly enlightened people who are world-renowned authors and speakers and have such fascinating topics to discuss and share. So please be sure to tune into Lighten Up Radio every first and third Wednesday on Blog Talk from 7 to 8:30. And then the following week on the second and fourth Wednesdays, you'll actually see the video of that radio show. And that's really fun because what we've done is then put all kinds of graphics and images in there that are actually activational. So we have sacred symbols and inspirational messaging. And then, of course, you'll get to see the individuals live that, we've interviewed. So it's really fun to have that multimedia format for both Lighten Up Radio and Lighten Up TV, which are, of course, connected. And then again, just referencing back to Supernatural Adventures, we have interviewed many of the guests that are on Ancient Aliens, from David Childress to Brad Olson, to Clifford Mahudi, and that was really fun interviewing them for that show. But again, the list goes on of not just spiritually inspired authors and speakers, but these are also people who are scientists. We have theoretical physicists, we have metaphysicists, we have numerologists, all kinds of fascinating people who are experts on these different topics that really merge science and spirituality. And that is our goal, is to create a whole new genre called sci-fi. Because I really believe that when we start to draw those parallels between science and spirituality, that we are able to reveal the metaphysics underlying creation. We're able to validate some spiritual principles. We're able to understand on a deeper level the creation and multidimensional aspects of being, parallel universes. So I really feel strongly that merging of science and spirituality is a powerful way to lead us into an enlightened way of living and being in the world. Thank you so much for having me on your show, Andrew. It's truly been an interesting experience interviewing with you. I can see that you're really well versed on many topics, and it's been a pleasure chatting with you today, and I look forward to seeing you in the future at various events. I hope you can make our Cosmic Awakening event again on December 9th and 10th at the Sedona Community Center. And you can just go to theawakeningcenters.org and click on fundraising to get your tickets to those events. I love to chat with my fans and followers, and you're always welcome to email me at Suzanne Ross, SUZANNEROSS 64 yahoo.com. And visit my websites. SuzanneRossWellness.com is where you'll find information about my books. And then if you subscribe to our YouTube channel under Suzanne Ross, you'll get your free ebook called Merge.
Well, thank you very much. You're very well versed on a lot of things too. It was a pleasure having you on. I do hope to see you too as well. And I still have to upload my interview that I did with Rich Allen Miller a couple days ago to YouTube before I upload yours. But I do plan to get it uploaded hopefully by next Monday at the absolute latest. So it'll be up there. And when I get it uploaded there, I'll post, I guess, on your Facebook wall, because you're a friend of me on Facebook, a link to that interview. So if you want to spread it far and wide to people, by all means, you can do that. So pleasure having you on. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Trek That Infinite Consciousness. Good luck, Suzanne Ross. Pleasure having you on. Take care now.
Thank you.
Bye
Good
bye.
evening.